The first essay you're going to write for class will be a personal narrative essay. And this handout explains some of the parts of the personal narrative essay. Since you've read my 8-cow bracelet, that is another example of a personal narrative essay. And I will relate some of the things they're talking about in this handout to that story. Okay, and as the introduction says, here, that narratives written for college or personal narratives tell a story and to illustrate some truth or insight. So when you're thinking about what you might write about, it should be a story that you learned something, that it changed you, this, whatever happened, changed you in some way and taught you something about life or yourself or whatever. Okay, so here we have the introduction. We've seen that before. Okay, so the hook here in the 8-cow story is the 8-cow bracelet story. It's a very strange name. Okay, is a statement that catches the reader's attention. And for this, she used a quotation. A quotation is not the most exciting way to begin, but it works. Okay, and she says here is a relevant quotation, fact, or definition. We will talk more during the semester about different ways to begin your essays to grab your reader's attention. Okay, so then they say set the scene, okay? Everything the reader needs to know to understand the story. Okay, who are the major characters, where and where is it taking place? Actually, I don't know where I got the idea it was in Arizona, because she doesn't actually tell us. Oh, because her father went to Arizona. But at any rate, the setting the scene here mostly has to do with her and what she looks like. So that was in the first paragraph, in the introduction, she talks about what she looks like, and then actually then talking about her family also and how they interacted, and they had so many kids and whatever. So that sort of sets the scene. And then, as we looked at before, we have the thesis statement, the last sentence in the first paragraph. It was during this transitional point in my life that my father began to teach me a valuable and significant lesson regarding beauty and the power of words. Okay, now for the body paragraphs. Okay, show, don't tell is the most important thing to remember when you're writing a narrative. Actually, when you're writing it all, but particularly a narrative. Okay, so she doesn't say I was ugly. What she describes herself to you. I mean, at least how she felt that she looked. Who knows what the truth was. Okay, but I'm guessing since her father said she had inner beauty, that she actually wasn't a particularly attractive young woman. Okay, so then you lots of details and descriptions, and she did this very, very well. There are a number of places I would suggest you look back and look at all the ways that the things that she described. Often they are herself. Okay. But she also describes family interaction. She gives lots of examples of the things that would happen when they were having these family meetings. She also describes her father's garden, talking about specifically what he was growing there, the specific things that he taught her about gardening and nature in general. She describes the bracelet and even to the detail of that he took it out of his red farmer handkerchief. Okay, and then in the end, when she's talking about what she learned, I remember the sun beating down on my head, the smell of wet dirt, the sound of our water pump whirring softly as the family inside the house started to get ready for the day. So she has a lot of detail and description. Okay, and here, okay, so then supporting evidence. Now, we're not really mounting so much of an argument, but we are trying to show that she is trying to explain to us why this lesson was so important and how her father taught it to her. Okay, so the passage of time, as I pointed out while I was in the other video, she does have several times that she makes it clear as time was passing to make sure, because this is narratives are told chronologically, which means in order of time. So we have to make sure that the reader always knows where we are in time. Okay, so, and here, this is what I mentioned to you earlier on the other video, that a new paragraph marks a change in the action of the story, or a or a move from action to reflection. So reflection simply means to think about what happened. And but often, as I said, when you're telling the story, it either moves to a new time frame, or if something that happened in one time frame is quite long, you just break it at a reasonable place. Okay, so, and then the conclusion is actually the moral of the story, which we can see very clearly in this essay. So now, what I would like you to do for Wednesday is to create an outline for your narrative. And you're going to, you can think of the hook. I'm not so concerned about that. I would like to see the thesis statement. Okay, what is it, the thing that what you learned, or how this event was significant to you. You're not going to actually give the moral, but you're going to say something that introduces your story. So like sometimes the best lessons are learned from our hardest experiences. So that's a very general sort of statement, but it lets the reader know that what you're going to be talking about, and then in the conclusion you would say what you actually learned from that hard experience. And then they're using topic sentence here. Here, I don't care so much about the topic sentence, but at least you should write for yourself how you're moving. What part of the narrative is this supposed to be about? Okay, and then try to think about the details. Okay, it says here on the side, it gives you some help: sound, smell, taste, textures. Okay, anything that is a detail. Think about how she talked about what her family, the ways that her family interacted, that kind of thing. Those are all details. Okay, so that's what they're calling here the beginning of the action, the middle of the action, and the end of the action. And then we have the conclusion: analyze and reflect. Okay, so this is where you're going to write the lesson for your story. Okay, what did you learn from this? Okay, so notice we will be discussing this in class, this verb tense here, verb tense reporting versus reflecting. Okay, because you will be using past tense for telling your story, but the reflection and can be, if you're saying, especially if you're saying, now I know, okay, so you may use the present tense. Often we do. Okay, so this says first person versus third person. I think it's perfectly fine to use I. when you're telling a person, giving a personal narrative. Other kinds of writing that we do, we will try to avoid but in this case, I don't think that it's necessary. So I have attached a blank copy of this form that I want you to fill out. And for Wednesday, come to class prepared to talk about the narrative that you're going to write. You aren't going to write it, you're just going to plan it. And remember, this is going to tell a story that taught you a lesson. For those of you who are undergraduates and will be applying to bachelor's programs, this is the kind of essay that you write for for that sort of application. Many of you are Saudis, and you may know students from like the SABIC 5 students. I worked with them all last semester on doing their application essays. So if you're not sure about some things, they know very well how to do this. At any rate, so do the best you can. Come on Wednesday and prepare to tell a partner what you're going to be writing about.